This was the final Grand Ole Opry performance of the remarkable Jeannie Seely. For 60 years, she smiled under the Opry lights. She appeared on that stage more than 5,000 times and became true country music royalty. The legendary singer and Grammy winner Jeannie Seely has passed away. But before her death in 2025, she finally revealed the truth. In her last interview, she spoke openly about the toxic traditions that nearly made her quit at least 10 times. She talked about the powerful men who controlled everything, the unfair pay, the threats, and the long-buried scandals from the 1960s. She even left behind sealed letters containing explosive allegations. What she revealed about the Opry shocked everyone. Jeannie's story began in a small living room in Titusville, centered around a big Philco radio that her family treated like treasure. It was the 1940s, and that radio cost the equivalent of nearly $2,000 today. When Jeannie was just 4, she would stretch up on her toes to turn the dial until she found WSM 650 Nashville, home of the Grand Ole Opry. The music filled the entire house. Saturday nights became a family ritual, and Jeannie would sit as close as she could to the sound. By age 11, those nights had shaped her so deeply that she stepped into a radio studio for the first time. She appeared on a Saturday morning show on WMGW in Meadville, singing while standing on wooden soda crates to reach the microphone. Her Hank Williams covers cut through the static and made her stand out. She earned $5 per show, an impressive sum for a child in 1951, helping her buy school supplies and giving her a sense of independence. Soon she was known as the little girl who stood on crates to sing, and people traveled miles to watch her perform. By 14, she already had a growing local fan base, but school life was difficult. Classmates mocked her for loving country music and for wearing thrift store clothes, calling her Hillbilly Jeannie. Still, she found strength wherever she could. She joined choir, practiced banjo at home with her father's encouragement, worked hard enough to become an honors student, and even made the cheerleading squad. She sang at county fairs to save money for her first guitar, a harmony that cost about $60 then. When she graduated in 1958, most people at school had no idea how serious her music career already was. Her determination was already forming something powerful inside her. At 16, she appeared on WICO TV in Erie. Instead of copying popular songs, she performed her own originals about rural life, which made her stand out even more. The station drew around 15,000 viewers daily, and many started calling and asking to hear the young songwriter again. Soon she was performing at outdoor events and school gatherings, becoming a regional attraction. Those early TV appearances pushed her toward much larger dreams, and by 21, she was ready to leave Pennsylvania. After finishing school in 1958, she worked as a stenographer at Titusville Trust Company and quickly became secretary to the bank's auditor. She also took business finance classes at night through the American Institute of Banking. These lessons taught her law, accounting, and money management, skills that later helped her survive tough years in the music industry when every contract mattered. She didn't have a college degree, but she built her own education. At 21 in 1961, she left Pennsylvania and drove to Los Angeles alone in her MGA Roadster, shipping her other belongings with a simple note addressed only to General Delivery, Los Angeles. She first worked at a Beverly Hills bank, then left after a year to take a lower-paying secretary job at Liberty and Imperial Records so she could be closer to the music world. She wrote for 4-Star Music and appeared regularly on the Hollywood Jamboree TV show. She performed alongside Glenn Campbell before he was famous, improving her stage presence even as the industry insisted she was too country for pop radio. But she kept going, singing in clubs and writing songs late into the night. In 1963, she co-wrote Anyone Who Knows What Love Is while working at Liberty Records. A pantyhose advertisement inspired the phrase "anyone who knows comfort," which she reshaped into a love song. She struggled with the melody until a young Randy Newman walked in and helped her with the chords. Irma Thomas recorded the song in 1964, and it became an R&B success. Jeannie and Newman were not properly credited at first, but the song brought royalties for decades and kept her hopes alive. During those years, she continued appearing on Hollywood Jamboree, often alongside Glenn Campbell in some of his earliest television appearances. She performed in small studios and smoky clubs, building confidence even as producers kept telling her she didn't fit the pop trends. The difficult years in Los Angeles sharpened her sense of where she truly belonged. Nashville. In 1964, she signed with Challenge Records and recorded Am I That Easy to Forget at RCA Studio B, but the single failed. She survived by singing in rough clubs and dealing with empty promises and unwanted advances. Encouragement from people like Dottie West and Hank Cochran convinced her to head to Nashville. She arrived in the fall of 1965 with just $50 and a Ford Falcon. She rented a cheap room, waited tables for $50 a week, and sang demos at places like Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. Within a month, Porter Wagoner hired her to replace Norma Jean on his TV and roadshow, giving her a huge break. Later that year, Monument Records signed her and recorded Don't Touch Me. During the February 1966 session, she and producer Fred Foster clashed fiercely over the tempo. She wanted raw emotion, he wanted control. After a heated standoff, she recorded the song in one take. Released in March, it soared to number 1 on Cashbox and Record World, stayed on the charts for over 5 months, and crossed into the pop charts. The song shocked some radio stations because it expressed a woman's desire openly, which stirred controversy. In 1967, she became the first solo woman to win the Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance. She used the $1,000 prize to buy her first home, something she'd always promised herself, but success brought backlash. Some conservative DJs refused to play her songs, calling them too provocative. She pushed back by breaking the Grand Ole Opry's dress code and performing in a miniskirt, making a bold statement about controlling her own image. Her confidence opened doors for other women. Her clash with Fred Foster during Don't Touch Me became part of music history. She believed the song needed honesty, he wanted something softer. Her bold, one-take performance became iconic. In 1966, she performed more than 200 shows. At one show in Louisiana, angry crowd members threw bottles over the song's suggestive lyrics. She refused to back down and finished the performance, earning the nickname Miss Country Soul. It marked her as a powerful force at a time when country music was changing. On September 16, 1967, she made her Grand Ole Opry debut wearing a bright red miniskirt. Nashville had never seen anything like it. Ernest Tubb grumbled on stage about her outfit, and his comment made national news. Fans rushed to see the daring young singer, and soon other women began wearing shorter dresses too. Her debut performance of Don't Touch Me drew 3,000 fans and made her an instant star. Backstage, though, she faced hurtful whispers accusing her of being too bold and too modern. She even received anonymous threats telling her to follow the rules. She ignored them and continued wearing eye-catching outfits, inspiring others to do the same. Loretta Lynn later praised her for that fearlessness. Despite performing more than 100 Opry shows within months, Jeannie earned only $50 per appearance, half of what the men made. In 1968, she publicly called it sexist robbery, a bold move that brought backlash but planted the seeds of future reform. Meanwhile, tabloids swirled with rumors about her and Hank Cochran as they recorded duets together. The gossip wore her down, and the emotional strain inspired her song Leaving and Saying Goodbye, which listeners embraced for its raw honesty. In 1968, tragedy nearly ended her career. Her second album reached number 4, but during a national tour she suffered a near-fatal bus accident. Her vocal cords were badly injured, and she secretly endured months of therapy, afraid the truth would destroy her career. When her voice finally returned, the comeback felt like a personal victory. In 1969, she married Hank Cochran in a small $200 ceremony. Fans imagined a perfect musical union, but behind closed doors things were rocky. Cochran's drinking and long tours strained the marriage for years. She dedicated her 1967 album Thanks Hank to him, but eventually the tension became too much. They divorced in 1981 after more than a decade of struggle. In 1970, her duet album with Jack Green produced the hit Wish I Didn't Have to Miss You, which reached number 2. Still, she faced unequal treatment. Promoters favored Green and paid her less despite sharing the spotlight. This reflected the unfairness that female artists faced constantly. In 1973, she recorded Can I Sleep in Your Arms, adapted by Hank Cochran from a folk tune. Its honest lyrics about divorce and loneliness stirred controversy, and some stations banned it. But it climbed to number 6 and remained on the chart for 18 weeks, becoming her final top 10 solo hit. In 1972, she suffered a miscarriage and kept it private, fearing the industry would call her weak. She channeled her grief into Tell Me Dreammaker, which reached number 15 and resonated deeply with listeners. By 1975, she had 6 albums and 10 top 40 singles. That year, she informally hosted an Opry segment, something women had never been allowed to do. When a manager tried to use tradition as an excuse, she pushed back, calling it discrimination. Her challenge worked, and she became one of the first female Opry hosts. In 1977, she crashed her Cadillac into a tree on I-40 and suffered major injuries, including a fractured jaw, broken ribs, and a punctured lung. She needed surgery and spent much of the year recovering. She hid the severity of her injuries, afraid her label would drop her. The accident damaged her marriage even further, and by 1981 the divorce was final. In 1978, MCA dropped her after a single failed, and she briefly tried acting. But male actors earned far more, $500 a day compared to her $200, so she left acting and returned to performing, where she could control her work. Her family life had its own challenges. She became a stepmother to Cochran's children and quietly supported them even after the divorce, paying for private school and legal fees during a difficult custody situation. She chose not to have biological children, believing touring was too unstable for raising a baby. By 1980, she was performing fewer shows and battling depression. Her comeback attempt with Broken Bridge didn't chart, and the industry's bias against older women made the silence even worse. But she continued performing anyway. Everything changed again in 1982 when she officially became the first woman to host the Opry. Her debut night featured Loretta Lynn and increased viewership by 20%. She transformed expectations and gave women new space on the iconic stage. In 1985, she began hosting Jeannie's House, an Opry segment that mentored new artists and encouraged women to stay strong. It became a safe place for honest conversations about the struggles female artists faced. She continued performing into the 1990s. In 1991, she released I'm Still Jeannie, and her song Weekend reached number 25. The album's honesty about Nashville's party culture upset some people, but she stood her ground. Her personal life stabilized after she married Gene Ward in 1985. Together they built a comfortable life through Opry royalties and smart investments. She quietly supported him during his health struggles. By 1999, she had performed more than 3,000 times at the Opry. That year she revealed women were still earning 30% less than men. Her statement forced immediate reform. In 2003, she stood on the CMA stage and accepted the Irving Waugh Award. Instead of a safe speech, she revealed that she had nearly quit the Opry 10 times because of harmful traditions and rules that limited women. Her honesty moved the room and encouraged younger artists to speak out about their own experiences. In 2010, she brought the same openness to her SiriusXM show. Sundays with Seely became a rare space where people discussed the darker sides of the music industry. In one memorable episode, Dolly Parton talked about harassment she faced in the 1970s, something she had never admitted publicly. More than 1 million listeners tuned in weekly. In 2015, at 75, she prepared to release Life's Highway. Her label doubted her, saying the themes of aging wouldn't sell. She released it anyway, and it reached number 40. One song, Opry Forever, hid a secret. In 2016 she had battled a near-fatal pneumonia but kept recording through weakness and fear. By 2023, her legacy was undeniable. She had made 5,197 Opry appearances, more than anyone in the Opry's 100-year history. She often said the Opry was both a sanctuary and a trap. She gave it her heart, her time, and her health, but she always returned because it was where she felt most alive. Her final year arrived in 2025. She passed away on August 1 at age 85 after complications from an intestinal infection and after multiple back and abdominal surgeries earlier that year. She spent 11 days in intensive care. Her husband, Gene Ward, had died just months earlier in December 2024 at age 92 after a battle with cancer. She sold their Nashville home but kept his Opry memorabilia, which she lovingly called her Ghosts of Glory. Her life held stories that stayed hidden for decades. She never had biological children but loved her 4 stepchildren deeply. She had also endured chronic back pain since her 1977 car accident and went through several surgeries in 2025 hoping to ease the pain, each one draining more of her strength. In the 1980s, she was quietly blacklisted by a powerful producer after rejecting his advances. His influence cost her work and almost crushed her career. She later wrote about it anonymously in a memoir draft, wanting the truth preserved without reigniting old wounds. Near the end of her life, she spoke about her biggest choices. She admitted she turned down bigger fame because she wanted to stay loyal to the Opry. that loyalty sometimes cost her dearly. She endured rumors she didn't deserve, including a damaging and false abortion rumor from the 1970s. After her death, the Opry held a memorial on August 17. More than 5,000 people attended. Dolly Parton led a tribute that brought the crowd to its feet. They honored the first woman to regularly host Opry segments and the performer with the most Opry appearances in history. It felt like a final standing ovation. Her net worth in 2025 was estimated between $1.4 million and $5 million. It came from royalties, decades of performances, songwriting, and her pension. She used some of her money to fund scholarships for young women in music, hoping to give them opportunities she never had. Friends later revealed she left unsealed letters describing long-hidden scandals and corruption from the 1960s. None of the contents have been released, and fans are still waiting to learn what she knew. In early 2026, she was scheduled for induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame, an honor her fans had long hoped for. Her final words to those around her were simple: she hoped people would remember the real her. And they do. After her passing, unpublished notes revealed that she regretted not suing for discrimination when she had the chance, believing she lost at least $500,000 because of gender bias. She encouraged young artists to fight the gingham ghosts, her name for the old rules and invisible barriers still present in country music. Her words sparked new conversations and renewed courage in people who had stayed silent for too long.